Interesting story? Check. Compelling characters and environments? You bet. Really awesome mind-blowing combat? Not so much. Hey everyone, I'm Ricky, this is WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 great games with awful combat.
Do you know how to use one of these?
Yeah, it's like a camera. You point and shoot, right?
Good girl.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're taking a look at awesome games but with clunky or unintuitive fighting mechanics. Now, we're not saying any of these games are terrible, but it's hard to deny that their lackluster combat puts a damper on the overall experience. Number 10. Uncharted: Drake's Fortune.
I can't leave you alone for a minute, can I?
I had everything under control until they blew up the boat.
As much as we enjoy the Uncharted series, the first game hasn't withstood the test of time as well as it could. Uncharted: Drake's Fortune still boasts fantastic story with memorable characters, but we simply cannot ignore the flawed combat.
Let's check it out, huh?
No, wait. Something about this feels kind of hinky.
Hinky.
Your reticle is so small that it feels like you need to be extremely accurate with your shots. On top of that, the game spends part of the tutorial explaining melee combat, yet you can advance throughout the game without much need for punching an enemy. It serves more as a last resort for when you run out of ammunition. Seriously, why teach us close combat if 90% of the game is shooting?
All right, Nate, just pretend for a minute that I don't really care about any of that stuff and cut to the chase, would you?
Number 9. Fallout 3. Fallout fans are very much divided as to whether Fallout 3 was actually the amazing game we thought it was back at the time of its release. Needless to say, its wrinkles are glaring. Yeah, the VAT system is hilarious and the RPG elements are fine, but shooting feels off. Like, really off.
They're all dead. Burned gray ditch right to the ground, those things. They came out of nowhere. You gotta run! Run!
There are many times where the shooting aspects rely too heavily on your character's stats. Also, as entertaining as VATS is, it can make combat a tad boring once you've chosen all the perks that make the system broken. At that point, you're pretty much playing God mode.
Sadly, sometimes the scaly claw of tyranny must be destroyed by the cold, unfeeling pincers of justice.
Number 8. Assassin's Creed.
It matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way
My way is better.
Our scout ahead. Try not to dishonor us further.
While Assassin's Creed has been known for its exceptional open-world gameplay and stealth-based mechanics, its flaws have started to become visible with time, most notably in its melee combat. Every fight feels just like the last. You're surrounded by a group of enemies, they'll attack you one by one, and you simply press the same couple of buttons to kick their respective butts.
You play a dangerous game!
I assure you, this is no game.
To spice things up, Assassin's Creed could have added a little more enemy variety as well as give the combat some extra depth. What we were given was basic, bland, and banal. We know, these confrontations were never the point of the game, but still.
I am offering you a chance at redemption. You'll earn your way back into the Brotherhood.
Number 7. Mass Effect.
What are you doing sneaking around back there?
I'm sorry, I was hiding.
It's one thing for combat to be dull and tedious, it's another thing entirely for it to be infuriating to the point of making you want to abandon the game in frustration. While Mass Effect manages to get everything right with its story, visuals, and sound design, the combat needed more time in the oven.
I'll find some way to take him down.
It's not that easy.
Not only are the controls irritating to work with, but the AI can be incredibly stupid. You'll often find them running into walls and ignoring commands, or charging into battle only to die instantly. How exactly did these guys get recruited by N7?
I want to talk about something else.
Like what?
I should go.
Number 6. Risen 2: Dark Waters.
There's a ship coming in.
In this storm.
It's hard to find a good pirate game these days. Before Assassin's Creed hoisted their sails in Black Flag, we had Risen 2: Dark Waters. Upon its release, players found an entertaining experience within the immersive and often humorous world. However, if you were looking to do some swashbuckling, you would have to look elsewhere.
Well? All right.
Fights in Risen 2 were the least exciting moments devolving into nothing more than a race to deplete health bars while mashing left click. Some of the more forgiving players out there may have been okay with the lifeless combat, but many others jumped ship.
I hear no lie in your words, but you will have to get past me first.
Then let's fight.
As you wish.
Number 5. The Elder Scrolls series.
You'd better explain yourself. Now.
Put those torches and pitchforks down, please. We love Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim just as much as everyone else does, but let's be honest, the combat needs some serious work. We can appreciate the diverse weaponry and vast skill trees, but in the end, combat requires you to do nothing more than flail them weapons. Magic doesn't make it much more exciting beyond the addition of visual flair. Of course, there's always the level 100 sneak approach. If your sneak is high enough, you can easily avoid combat by simply crouching. Apparently, the AI is too stupid to bother to look down. At least dragon shouting enemies into a ragdoll state never gets old. Number 4. XCOM 2. Sometimes, you want to make yourself angry. On such occasions, it pays to have a copy of this game on hand. While we understand that XCOM 2 is supposed to be incredibly difficult, it doesn't excuse some of the dumbest RNG-dependent situations we've endured.
It's still moving.
I didn't get it.
During your fight against the alien menace, you'll notice that every attack relies on a chance to hit. Unfortunately, you can stand right next to an enemy and still have less than a 50% chance to land a hit. It makes no sense. Simply put, the RNG makes the difficulty way too steep and can easily undermine the entire experience.
Adjusting sights.
Number 3. We Happy Few.
Where do you think you're going then?
We Happy Few stands out thanks to its unique story and world. Sadly, we can't say the same for its combat. Much like the Elder Scrolls games, there's not much strategy in fighting enemies. Just keep on flailing your weapons until they stop moving. Of course, we say that assuming your fight with one person doesn't turn into a massive angry mob chasing after you like you're Frankenstein. From start to finish, the combat is repetitive and boring, which, when coupled with the game's technical issues, makes it hard to recommend We Happy Few.
By God, you are the most on-the-ball person I've seen in years. Are you sure you're not a downer?
Number 2. Red Steel.
A sword and a gun brought me back, Luigi. Not prayers.
Remember all of those badass trailers for Red Steel? We couldn't wait to take control of all those shootouts and sword fights. So, what could ruin this action movie simulator of a game? Motion controls.
We must stop them or we'll all die!
Yep, the controls were not nearly as smooth and responsive as the trailers promised, and enemies would spend more time waiting around to be killed instead of actually fighting back. Red Steel had some good ideas considering the time it was released, but it was nothing beyond a concept. Thankfully, Red Steel 2 managed to get things right.
So, you've come to save us all.
Before we get to our shining example of clunky combat, here are a few honorable mentions. Number 1. The Witcher.
Not bad. Take a rest. What do you think, Geralt? Is he ready for the path?
Just like we've seen with Uncharted and Assassin's Creed, first games in a franchise often fall victim to the passing of time. This has never been more true than with The Witcher. The combat in this game is so abysmal that it's retrospectively hilarious to watch.
Not bad. You seem to be in good shape. Eskel, you know I need practice.
First off, the combat plays out as if it's a third-person shooter from melee combat. Then, there's the goofy sound effects for the swords that make it feel like Geralt has seen too many martial arts movies. And do not get us started on the animations. The Witcher series will always have a place in our hearts, but we'll leave this in what can be considered as the franchise's pubescent years.
All right, I'll just tend to my business and be on my way.
If this list taught me anything, it's that practice makes perfect. Many of these franchises have refined their combat over the years, with titles like The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Uncharted 4 coming to mind. Alright guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you want some more video game goodness, clickety click over here, and be sure to like and subscribe to Watch Mojo.